Yeah.
Forever. Dog.
I guess I do want to know if how you guys feel about Mushu, because I don't really want to talk about it on the main. Like when we're at,
I missed him. I missed Mushu. I missed him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
felt
Yeah.
like this movie had like a weird sense of humor. Like almost,
Or no sense of humor.
Yeah, no sense of humor was mostly it. It was like really weird and skewed.
well,
Yeah.
I just think it's so funny that like before, there are so many different, I feel like, controversies with this film,
Mhm.
but the first thing that I remember when this trailer first came out was there was no Mushu, and so especially Black Twitter, because Eddie Murphy voiced Mushu in the original Mulan, was like, "No Mushu, I'm not seeing this movie." and then there was like a contingent of people who were like, "Well, that character was kind of like, culturally insensitive." And I don't know. I haven't like. I don't know anything about it. I just remember being like, yeah, well, when I was a kid, Mushu was hilarious and it's Eddie Murphy. And then but as an adult, I was like, yeah, I can understand Mushu not being in this movie, especially if they're trying to make it more realistic,
Right, yeah.
which questionable if they did that. But
I was literally looking this up. Like I was just on Facebook, and one of this big Asian voice, this guy who's like he's big on social media. He was talking about this, and he made a big deal that Mushu's not in there. He's like, "What the fuck? Why is he not in here?" And then like every other Asian person that like follows him was piping in and be like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna watch this without Mushu too." So I don't think it's just black people that agree with this. I think a lot of people.
fair. All right, cool.
A weird
That's
mixed
good to
bag.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. All I could say is,
I'm
I
just-
believe Mulan.
I guess I'm just happy that a Forever Dog, I guess, is giving me $30 to watch it. 'Cause I was not going to watch it.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I was probably not gonna watch this, and I even after watching it, I felt kind of bad because like there's that everybody's getting back on the boycott Mulan train,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
I was going to be like, how can I watch it for free and then keep the $30 to myself? They're like, no, I'll be honest.
wow.
Honestly, I wouldn't even be mad at that.
Really.
Truly. Yeah. This is. Listen, I usually do some corny transition, but I really don't know how to do it for this movie. Other than saying that we're about to review Mulan.
Woo!
2020's Mulan.
Yeah.
2020's
Yeah.
Mulan. All right, here we go. Let's start the show.
Jonathan Braylock. James the Third. Drum Milligan.
What more can I say? You know what it is.
Black men can't jump.
In Hollywood.
Black actors, man. Black actors. All right.
Welcome to Black Men Can't Jump in Hollywood. Hollywood City is what Jiraiya usually says, and then James would say something like, I believe. Or, yeah, exactly, Kat. He'd be singing he'd be singing Reflections for sure, which is the only, the song isn't in the movie, but they keep playing.
They play it a lot.
Played to my heart. I was like,
I have to say, every time they played it, I was like, huh.
I was like, I'm gonna cry, even though nothing's happening.
Oh, that's exactly right. But we have three incredible guests. I mean, honestly, I'm the guest, and you guys are the hosts. Really, that's what it's about. Because we're talking Disney's
Should we do
Mulan.
the intro?
So yeah, you guys should do the intro. I'm gonna do drums, and okay. First of all, returning guest, fourth. I don't know. Who knows? Nobody's keeping track. You guys know her. You love her. It's Kat Lerner, everyone.
Woo! Happy to be here.
And of course, we also have two new guests. First time on the podcast. First, I'm going to introduce. She's an amazing, incredible performer. UCB, from Asian pop. You have heard and seen her, I'm sure, in multiple videos on TV. It is Angel Yao, everyone. Angel Yao.
Hi.
And last but certainly not least, the incredibly funny, hilarious, also UCB performer, and I believe you co-created the Asian AF Festival. Is it, or at least hosted it?
I hosted in New York. Yeah, I'm the New York Asian AF New York host. Yeah.
Asian AF New York host Donald Chang, everyone. Donald Chang. What's going on?
All right.
Guys, welcome. Thank you so much for doing this podcast.
For having us.
Yeah, and I mean, we've already kind of tipped our hat a little bit, I guess, but we are reviewing 2020 Disney Mulan. I mean, let me just set the stage for everyone in case you didn't know. This is I guess technically a remake of Disney's animated film Mulan, the live action remake that they've been doing. This is like the 8th or 9th one. They did 3 last year. They did The Lion King, they did Aladdin, they did Dumbo. They've done Cinderella, a bunch of these other ones. They've finally decided to do Mulan, but instead of, I guess there's 2 camps of these kinds of movies, because a lot of them do the kind of they basically just recreate the Disney movie, like almost scene by scene, like Lion King and Aladdin did. And then there are some like Dumbo that's like a complete retelling, or Maleficent or something like that. Mm-hmm. And this is more in the retelling. There's no songs. There's no Mushu, as we've said.
Or no crazy grandmother.
And this film was going to be coming out in March of this year, but because of COVID and the pandemic, it kept getting postponed. Disney finally decided to release it on Disney streaming for the somewhat hefty price of $30, though it's going to be free on Disney streaming in December. So I think I speak for all of us to say it probably just wait.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe some people are like, no, pay the $30 now. You can.
I mean, if it's if it's like a family of 4, like, if you're like, okay, like that would have been a lot more to take you to the movie theaters. So if it's like a family of 4, like $30 is not bad.
Yeah.
That's not bad. Yeah. If you break, yeah, exactly. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense in some regard. It's coming. Yeah. And I think it is going to be released in theaters globally, though, China being the main one. And that's part of this kind of controversy that's happening there. Initially, when the film or the trailers were released, I think sometime last year, there was a boycott Mulan kind of thing trending on Twitter because the main actress in the film who plays Mulan, Liu, what's her? Ife, I believe. She said something that was basically pro Hong Kong police during the Hong Kong protests. I'm not going to get into this much. If you guys want to talk about it, great. I don't know enough about. All I know is if she's pro police, so there's a part of me that's like, yeah, I get that. I get how that's bad. I just imagine police in Hong Kong can't. I don't know. If they're anything like police here, then not great. But who knows? Or other people know, not me. And then now this movie's come out. The fact of the matter is this film was directed and written by white people. Nikki Caro is the director. I believe she's a New Zealand director. And then there's like 4 writers, which is insane for them to have 4 writers and then 0 of them be Asian. But that's, I believe, the case.
And they don't really have any credits, too. Like, I was looking at their IMDb, they're like, no credits.
Yeah.
Like, 2 of them. And they wrote, like, a Christmas TV show, and then
wow,
a short film, and then Mulan.
I was like, they tried to make this more traditional to the original script, so that's why they had to do that. Right. They pulled Mushu, they pulled all the songs because this had to be more Chinese.
More Chinese, yeah. Right? Which is more a lot of things that you've also been hearing. It's like, oh, they said they were going to make it more in line with, I guess, I mean, there are several iterations of this folk tale.
Yeah, because it's just like a poem.
It's a poem.
Like the beginning of it is her weaving, and it's like
right. It's like we have to be more faithful to Beowulf. I don't know. Yeah, there's something that's a little strange about that. But they also, the other thing that I've heard is that they really wanted to appeal to mainland China, and so there's like the themes are a little bit different, which we can talk about. Regardless, I don't know. Who knows how much money this is going to make in China? Like, I think Disney is hoping that it makes a lot of money. They seem to have tailored it a little bit towards that. It's not going to make that much money here, just because it's not really going to be released in theaters here. Anyway, but all that said, currently has 79% Rotten Tomatoes, but the audience score is 57, I believe. Percent, which is a drastic difference.
Yeah.
So, all that being said, Kat, do you want to start us off with initial thoughts? Your initial thoughts of Mulan?
Initial thoughts. Well, I mean, like many people, Mulan was like my favorite Disney movie. Like, I remember going to the theaters with my parents for it, and like my mom like sobbing when everyone bowed to Mulan. Like, I remember, like, very vividly remember this as my childhood. So like it meant a lot. And I definitely think that, in school, like, because I was kind of ethnically ambiguous, people always were like, you look like Jasmine, now you look like Esmeralda. And then it was like, oh, now you look like Mulan. And it's like, oh, cool, that's actually the one that makes sense. So I was very excited for this. I was excited for it the whole time. Even though there was lots of controversy, I still kind of was very hopeful. And I was just like, it's going to be fine. I also have a friend in it. I'm going to shout out to Dua Mua, who played Poe. I thought he was wonderful. I went to college with him. So I was excited about that too. Watching it, I loved every time they did something that I was like, oh, that's just like the Disney movie. I kind of liked it every time that something like that happened. I also was like, okay, there's no Mushu, so there's not a lot of magic. And then all this magic started happening, and I was like, what's happening? But that's fine. But I mean, overall, I actually liked it overall. I also kind of felt like, the stuff about family and stuff really always gets me. I'm kind of a sap about that. So the end, I was like, oh, I don't know. And so when it ended, I was like, yeah, like, that was pretty good. Those were my initial thoughts.
Fair. Angel, do you want to?
I think we gathered that I did not like the movie. Yeah, same as Catherine. I think it was like the first, like Disney princess that we connected to that wasn't like a Christian Andersen, whatever fairy tale thing. And it was based on a poem that I actually remember I had to recite when I went to Chinese school. And like I went to Chinese school 1st to 6th grade, and then I stopped because it was too hard. But it was one of the passages we just had to like recite when we were younger. And I think a lot of younger Chinese kids would like kind of relate to that and remember that. And then when I heard they were going to make a cartoon out of it, I was like, great. But I was still like, I don't know. I think when I was little, I was still very, I didn't think too much about like being or like representing my culture or like Chinese. It was more of like, I want to be like everyone else, kind of. So like I need this Disney princess to kind of be like everyone else. But then as I remember watching it, I just relate it to Mulan's like awkwardness and like quirkiness and just like not being like a model minority basically. And that's what I connected to it. And the whole like, um, you know, appeasing her father, like, because they didn't have a son, is very relatable. Because my dad, all the time, he's like, if you were a boy, you could help me build this thing. And I'm always like, I'm sure if I was a boy, I'm still going to be lazy and not know how to build things. So it's like that in our culture is there that I connected with it. And then so when I heard that they were going to do the live action, I kind of right away knew, just from the trailer, I guess, like knew that it was more kind of based on like martial arts and like more of that like, ancient fantasy China, whatever, like like not really historical accurate, but there's some whatever, and it's more about like the fighting of it. But I was still the moment where you see her fighting, I was like, that's still a moment I was like, oh, this is great. And I was, the same with like the Mushu thing and not having any music. I was kind of on the fence. I was like, I see why they're not doing that because of the way the story is. But now I'm like very, very disappointed that there's no music. Because then again, it's like setting it apart of all like those Disney remakes. Because I'm putting this in the category of like Beauty and Beast, Aladdin, where it was like a scene remake, but I updated it in a way, which was kind of like I wanted to look for that. So then the added other like characters and stories didn't add up, and then because I was watching it, I was trying to separate it from the animation to this, and I was trying to separate the actor, like, because I was going to ban it, but I was like, I'm going to separate it, and I was trying to do that a lot, but it is a Disney movie that's trying to touch our nostalgic, and it didn't do that at all. And then when I finished the movie, I was like, yeah, it was okay. But then I kept thinking about it, and I was just like, and I talked to my sister about it because we grew up with the movie, and it just got me so angry. Like I couldn't sleep last night, and then I was like, can't. And it was good timing because I just watched it last night, so it was just like all this is in my head, and I'm like, I can't wait to talk to everyone about it, but. Yeah, it was just, I was very disappointed, and now I'm angry about it. Sorry, that was too long, but that's the initial.
No, I was I love that journey. Donald, what did you think?
All right, well, I'm going to start with the pros I thought for this movie.
Yeah,
I will say,
that's fair.
I think this movie deserves an Oscar for costuming. And I think the costumes are out of this world. They're gorgeous, and maybe even the makeup and cinematography. The movie's gorgeous. I love
the cinematography.
I kind of regretted not being able to see this in a movie theater because I think it is really nice to look at. But I will also say I think the original Mulan is a huge deal. I think a lot of people love it. Not even if you're Asian. I think that's the beautiful thing about Mulan is I will talk to my friends and Mulan is at the top of their list of favorite Disney movies of all time, and that's so cool that you don't have to be Asian. You don't have to be I totally associate myself with this stuff because I have that cultural background. Other people are just no, I loved it. I feel so close to this. I had friends who were in the drag queen world in New York, and they're talking about this movie is about being about drag too, and I was like, whoa, I never made that connection, but that's wonderful that so many different communities can fall in love with this. So that's my background from original Mulan, and then coming into the live action version. I gotta say, I think just in general with the live action remakes for Disney, it's ironic that their cartoons are so full of life and feel like they're so three-dimensional, and then when they make them live action, it just feels really like cardboard cutouts. Someone would just give them hey, you need to make this movie. But remove this and remove this and remove this. And the only thing that'll make it pop is the visuals. The visuals I think of these Disney movies are great, but then they don't really get to let their actors have fun or come to life. which I think is like taking away from it. I think to expand, I think like the reason a lot of the Marvel movies are so great and popular is that they let their actors like improvise and like have fun and take on the characters.
Right.
But I feel like these ones, it's like you can't ruin this by making a personal choice. You got to be Mulan. You got to fit in this like cutout that we have for her. And it's not even like the full cutout, like Angela was saying that Mulan, the original character, is like so fun because she's so awkward and like has so much like quirkiness about her. And then they did not really let this character on the screen like come to life very much. Like even her comedy is just kind of like, hey, then I broke that thing and I caused trouble, and it just like didn't feel as real as like it did on the cartoon.
Yeah.
And I will say, I think it's so awkward that the movie does not have the music, but it definitely just tells you like, we remember that the song would happen right here. They like literally say the titles of the songs throughout the movie, and they're like, "I'm gonna make a man out of you," and then like another part where it's like the matchmaker song, and they like build it up, and they even.
Yeah.
I was watching with my girlfriend, and she was the one that called it. I was like, "Oh, they're playing the song," and I was like, "Oh, I guess they are," but they don't. They don't do it. So it's like they get so close. They like play a game of chicken with the original movie so much, and then they just kind of avoid it, and it like. For me, it took away. It didn't add to it. It felt like you're just reminding us of a better movie. Yeah, that was my big feeling and takeaway of that movie.
Yeah.
The other small other pro I thought was like cool that originally when I saw the trailers, I was like, oh, this looks like it's a very much like Chinese national movie. I didn't realize that Liu Yifei, Yifei. Liu Yifei is an American. Is American, Chinese-born American, and like their whole cast is like very international. So it was like that was pretty cool. Like they're literally from all over.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been reading like different people's takes on it, and it's funny because I feel like depending on how people feel, some people have been like, well, this movie has a lot of like Chinese actors in it, and there's not enough Asian American actors. And then there are people who are like, oh yeah, well the Asian American actors, or like the people who were born it, the actors who were born in China but grew up here don't know enough, and it just feels like people are caught in, some of these people are caught in the middle, which is, it's also crazy that it's like there's so much politics surrounding the outside of this, which is hard. But for me, the movie, I'm like initially after when I watched it, it was like, I was really pumped to see this movie. I liked Mulan as a kid. It wasn't my favorite. I guess my favorite was more like Aladdin or The Lion King, but I really did like Mulan a lot. And I liked the music. I think Mulan has one of the better, like, Disney soundtrack, like, the songs are like really great. So when I saw the trailer, I was like, wow, this is really cool, but I'm sad that I thought the music was going to be in it because they played the Reflections like instrumental, and that like when I first saw it, I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to see this movie. And I honestly think I almost cried when I watched that first trailer. There was something about that trailer that was really epic. But then people were like, no, the music's not going to be in it. The Mushu thing we already talked about, which I was fine with. Like, I was like, oh, a more gritty Mulan is kind of cool. So there were things about this movie that I liked. I think overall I was like, yeah, it was good. But seeing people's responses to it, I'm like, I can't deny any of the criticisms that people have about it. And it does feel like there were certain parts in the movie that I was just like, I don't understand what this movie wants to be, because the beginning tries to be a little bit more comedic. There, like with the whole matchmaker scene of the teapot and like so there are elements of it that felt a little bit more kid-like, but then it was like very serious, and then it does have this like kind of the wire fighting, which a lot of people know, or at least were introduced to, like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. You have those like kind of fight scenes where it's like they're in the air and they can like do these, flips, but only a few of them can do it. and so this movie also talked a lot about chi, which I don't believe was in the Disney version at all. I don't know if it's even in the original Mulan story necessarily. But it was this like thing of like the reason she's special is because of the chi, and I've seen people talk about that and say how. Well, I guess we'll talk about it more. Yeah, for me, I don't know. I liked it, but I didn't love it, and everything surrounding this is kind of depressed. Like, I don't know. It feels like this. I feels like I wanted this movie to be bigger than it wound up being, and I don't necessarily know what the fault is, but there's something about the fact that they didn't get any. They like not only didn't have an Asian director, but also didn't have Asian screenwriters. That feels so strange. Like I don't understand it, because I would understand it if this movie came out like even 6 years ago, I guess. But like now, like even considering, I'm sure it took them a while to get it going. But like, even if they started this process in 2014, that still feels like late enough for people to be like, hey, if we're gonna make Mulan, we should probably include some Asian writer, like Chinese writers. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't feel. It feels weird. I mean, I'm glad. It's like I don't know. We talk about this a lot on Black Can't Jump, but like when you're thirsty for something, you kind of just accept whatever you get, and you like. And like, there's this thing of like, oh, well, they didn't like have a bunch of white actors in this movie. And it's like, yeah, that's the like least that they can do. Like, I'm glad like Tom Cruise wasn't the general, I guess.
Not to bring this down,
don't know.
but I just read today that was actually in the original script. They were going to give her a white love interest.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I was listening to... Because, I was listening to your episode with Black Panther, and I can't help but compare it with that. And, like, you were saying how you hoped really bad that Black Panther was going to be great, and then you don't have to, like, pretend that it's... And it was great, but with Mulan, I'm like, I can't pretend. Like, I know it's terrible. and there are, like, complications of, like, all these little things, but for me, I just... every time I think about it, I'm like, it could have been so much better, and so much like, especially with the budget and how the scenery was beautiful and the costumes, but it was very disappointing in like the sense of like being like a 90s kid and being like, like loving Disney and then the whole like representation of like, Asian American in the mainstream media, like and also, I'm like, I studied film in college, but like, just like I'm just like, so critical of everything because it is, what I wish I could help to do better,
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's so real. Yeah, so I mean, let's go through it, and then we can talk about some of these things. If you're remembering correctly, does it start on this like initial attack? I do remember like the initial cinematography of this film was like, even on the RTV, which is not that nice, I was like, whoa, this looks really good. Like, holy crap.
Yeah,
I can't imagine what this would be like in a real movie theater, because it was like shot very like on obviously very expensive cameras and like shot very well. Like it like was beautiful, the kind of images and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it starts with like young Mulan, right? Like young Mulan getting in trouble.
Oh, that's right. Yes. So yes, it starts with Mulan when she's, I guess, like young adolescent, and she's like she's like running. They have the whole chicken scene.
Yeah.
Which I did like her being like, they didn't showing her younger self. I liked because I got excited. I was like, oh, maybe this is gonna be good after all. And then she had like a little sister, which is new. I was like, oh, that's cute. But like looking back, like I felt like the kid actor had more emotions and was a better actor than the actual actress that played Mulan.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Even just about the sister, the actor who played the sister. I was like, I want to follow this character.
Right. Yeah, they were showing a lot more emotion, and they were. I mean, it was just this young kid who was like really was having a lot of fun. I realized the dad was like kind of narrating the story.
Which was confusing. Yeah, I agree. It was confusing because I understood it at first, and then there were times where that narration would come in, and I'd be like, "Is this still the dad? Like, how does he know this? Like, I don't. Is this like he learned this later, and he's telling us about it in the past?" I got so confused.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the perspective of the narrator, I don't know if they fully nailed that down. Because who was the dad talking to? Like the audience,
right? Or like Mulan's like grandchildren. Like part of me was like, is he talking like to
the dad? Is like he never had children, and he just made up this legend, and then they passed on from generation.
I mean, it's maybe there's a cut scene, but it, like because it feels like what it wanted to be was like I think exactly what you just said, Kat. Like the dad sitting in front of very old, sitting in front of a bunch of different children and talking about this great honor that his daughter bestowed on his family, and like talking up the legend of Mulan.
Yeah, right. It's like the Aladdin, like when the genie narrated Aladdin, which is also weird. But that was in the remake of Aladdin. The genie was the narrator, and then and he had children. Like that was the book end of it. So maybe they were trying to like.
You're right. That was
do that.
Although, wait, I think in the original Aladdin, the genie was the narrator. He just like he'd like put on a different face, and at the end of the movie, you find that it was actually the genie.
That's true.
But
that is true.
They didn't do that with this movie. They didn't do that with this movie.
They did not.
No. And that's why I don't know if it was a cutscene or what, but it was like, But the other, I don't know if this is, it was cool seeing her as a kid. I do know we've talked about, there are a lot of movies, it feels like there are a lot of movies with black leads when it's like trying to go to a more mass audience. They like start the movie with like, the lead as a kid first, and sometimes it doesn't make any sense. You're like, why are we seeing this person as a kid? And I had this theory that like they need to do that for white audiences to be like, oh, we can relate a little bit better to a child, and so when they're an adult, we have an affinity for them.
I completely agree.
I don't know if that's maybe somewhat cynical, but sometimes I'm like.
I completely agree. Do you know how many people are like, oh my God, a little Chinese baby. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Like 100%.
Yeah.
So that you care about, this woman when she's an adult, otherwise you just be like, whatever. It's just something.
Yeah.
The other thing that was weird, or like that I thought I liked was because it showed her how like, good, like the chi thing, and like how she already knew, like she was a natural martial artist or whatever with all her flips. And at first I was like, oh, that's cool, like like just visually entertaining. But then again, like the original no was about how she had no like she was just a regular person, and she learned how to like fight and be like and have like had courage and all of that. But now it's like explain like, oh, that's just her natural, like she knows how to fight originally, and that I feel like that takes away from just connecting with the main character again. So that was the other thing in the beginning, like
how did everybody else feel about that, the chi kind of plot line throughout it? Because it's strange. It almost felt like, I mean, it was more in line with like some superhero movie, or like some, like it was like, this person is special, and they were destined to, do great things, and she's like basically has the same power that, you have this witch character, who also has this power and then was outcast by society and labeled a witch, and then the emperor seems to display the same type of power at a certain point, like I guess the Emperor has chi as well, like really strong, is really strong with chi, or has really strong chi. I don't know how you say it. I'm sorry.
It's big. He has big chi.
He has big chi.
Big
He
chi.
has a lot of chi. I don't know if the general was also supposed to have it, but at some point the general was like, you're a great warrior. Or if her dad at some point had it too. I don't know. It was like there, but it wasn't like, it wasn't fully there.
Yeah, it was a little confusing for me. At first I thought it was like chi is only with women, and then they had that whole scene while they like explained like everyone can have chi, and I was like, oh, okay. But like I don't want to get too far into it, but like I was fine with the chi until like the big moment where she's like embraces her chi, and then I was like, and she like takes off her armor, and I was like, but you still need armor. I was like, does chi like protect? Does chi like not like, I don't understand. Like, why take off your breastplate? Like, does chi like protect you in that way? Like, you can't die if you have chi? I don't understand.
Yeah, not to get too far ahead, but we saw what happens when you shoot an arrow at somebody who's got a lot of chi at the end of the movie.
That's true.
Yeah, I think I agree with Angel's Weather. Like, I think comparing it to the original too, the chi didn't add anything to the movie for me. I would have been fine if they didn't say chi and she was just really good at martial arts. I'm cool with that. But then it also takes away, because I think the charm of the original movie was that we got to see her use her wits to solve all these issues, like at boot camp when she's with the other guys. She shows she can be better than them, not by being super strong, but by being smarter. And like, that was so fun. And like, and then they had similar moments in this movie where it looked like they were trying to compare it, but it just didn't have a nice payoff, because it was just that she could chi it up, I guess, instead of like, I don't know, doing this fun, I don't know, problem solving.
Yeah, I think because my dad does teach us kung fu, and he does talk about chi a lot, but it is more like a philosophical kind of like not real, but it's about like your inner energy, your like positivity, like bringing that in where it's out, like kind of like believing in yourself is like the main message of like having chi power. But it's just, I think that might be one of the things that's trying to like appease the mainland China audience, if that's where they're going, because I think it is a common term. So I feel like if you say that, people who know martial arts and like kung fu would know that, and I think they probably put that into broaden that audience.
Right. Yeah. Totally. And I think this movie has a lot. They're balancing between these two worlds, because I feel like the kid stuff with the chicken and then so moving on, like we get like, I mean, I guess some of these the Mongolian warriors had chi too, because they were like climbing the wall, like they were like just running up the wall like vertically, like and so we see this like attack that happens on this village, and they just with the witch kill everybody in the town. Is that what they're just killing everyone? Because like at a later point they go to the emperor and they're like, what about my people? And they're like all dead. And I was like, damn.
I was like, oh, this is not children's movie.
Which also felt like there was a part of me that was listening to that. I was watching this and I was like I don't know. This is so complicated not to get to this part, but I was like, this feels specifically like made for the Chinese people to be like, yeah, the Mongolian, those were barbarians who were like, the Khans were people who tried to kill everyone, and we were like the noble, peaceful empire. And I was like, you're still an empire. You guys did this too, didn't you? Anyway, it's whatever.
Yeah, it did feel like they spent so long on that. Like, it did feel kind of Game of Thronesy. I'm like, wait, how many tribes are there? And then explaining all the wars, and I was like, wait, is this a Disney? Like, I got a little bored because of all like the war and the fake history and all of that before they got into like Mulan's world again, like as an adult.
Right.
I was like,
yeah. they were really trying to set that up. But I mean, I get it. So then we come back to Milan, and I thought who played her father?
Oh yeah.
Zaima, who's in everything.
Yeah. I liked him.
He was
good.
so. I liked the moment. I think it was when she was a kid, but like he saw her fighting and doing all this stuff, and he was like smiling, and then he saw everybody else looking, and then he was like, "Oh, you can't do that," and it explained to her the way that women bring respect and honor to their family is by like marrying someone. And so we see her as an adult, like they're like, hey, this is a glorious day. We're setting you up with the matchmaker, and she has to, put on her makeup and, they're out, the adornments and and goes over to the matchmaker. And they had established that her sister was scared of spiders, and we see this very clearly CGI spider, which I never fully understand why they make CGI out of certain things. Sometimes I'm just like, this, like, it makes the scene feel more fake than I feel like it needs to. Whatever. I don't know how you guys felt about that. I always feel weird about.
Yeah, I was like trying to be like, how clever, like, because like the cricket was the thing and it was animated, and I was like, how are they gonna make this in, like, how are they gonna translate it? And then it was a spider. I was like, okay. And then again, she shows off her martial arts, and then it's like nothing awkward happened. Like, she didn't, like, obviously everyone saw the spider. Like, she wasn't the one who caused it. And she even like,
her sister was the one that screams.
Yeah. And she was so like, like, I was impressed by her balancing all those teacups. So it was like, it didn't, give that justification. I was like, her being the one being like the dishonorable person. Yeah, I don't know if you guys missed it as well.
No, I did notice that. It's so weird that they made her the one, but it wasn't her. Like, I was like, she tried to save the China. Like, it wasn't her fault that all that stuff broke. It was going to break anyway. I don't know. Yeah. I also, like, how did you guys feel about the sister character? Because I thought the actress was great, but it was one of those things where I didn't fully understand what, like, that character was. Because did she have a sister in the...
I don't think she did.
No, right? Yeah. So I didn't understand why they had a sister and what they were trying to... I didn't understand what her relationship with her sister did for the movie.
So I loved the actor as well. I agree, and it's like, cool. I think she's great. I feel like they didn't really give her that much to work with. We just see her like for a hot second here and there, and it's like, okay, I like that. I want more of that. But I did look it up, and like I looked up how the director did their casting decisions and all this stuff, and apparently, they just added her because they wanted somebody for Mulan to play off of that'd be a little bit more playful, that would like show her being I guess like quirky, but like in a good way, as opposed to like she screws everything up and everybody gets to stare at her. She gets to like be quirky with her friend and like be in a positive place. So that's why they added this character, to see that side of her.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think before it was the grandma, which isn't in there. Yeah. I think that's the replacement for the sister.
They should have kept the grandma.
I know.
I loved the crazy grandma. I'm very sad we didn't have her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, anyway. The two-child policy, like, they wouldn't have two girls. One of them would have been dead.
Very true.
Let's be honest.
I was thinking about that. I mean, I don't know how long. I mean, I know this is more ancient, so I don't know how much that one-child policy was, but I was looking at that and being like, two girls, like, feels like this dad would be like, I gotta keep going or something. I don't know. But it was nice that he was like, I'm proud of my daughter. The relationship between her and her father was really nice. I liked that part of the movie. Yeah. They made her mom a little bit less likable, which I sometimes understand, and there's a part of me that feels like, do you have to make the other one? I don't know. Like, do you have to make the mom like? But I guess it's real, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Because like even in the first one, the mother is there, right? I think the mom's in the first Mulan movie, and she didn't come across like as such a negative character, and they were still able to give like Mulan everything she needed to spark off her adventure while keeping the mom like still a positive influence. So I was like, I don't know if I like this as much, and that's why I'm always confused. I'm like, the cartoon I feel should be the place where they get more, you know, black and white about stuff, but the live action movies is where they're doing it.
Yeah, it's strange. Anyway, so I think for me, this movie it's so we get to, you know, Mulan. We have her decision. Her decision's kind of made in, because there are no songs or anything. It's just like made in silence.
It's so fast. It's so fast.
Yeah.
We
really
have
fast.
this whole scene with her putting on makeup and like the matchmaker stuff. Yeah, and it's so slow, and it's so like, look what she's doing, and then in a blink of an eye she's in the armor, and it's like, what? We didn't get to have any of that moment. We didn't get to share in her moment of putting on like something that maybe feels like her or she's excited about, or like in just one blink of an eye, it's like she has all the armor on and she's ready to go.
And I think this is the part where I was like, I can't. They didn't have her cutting her hair with the sword.
Yeah,
I know.
I was like, that's the iconic part. Like, whenever you think of Mulan, like, that's the scene. And I just didn't have that because
she didn't
when she decided to be a one, like, her hair was like flowing. I was like, oh, that's why I didn't cut her hair. Because they needed her hair to flow as she's fighting with the sword.
Which, you know, like, yes, that shot does look pretty epic when she's like taking off her armor and then lets her hair out, and she's like, he's like, I'm a woman and I'm fighting.
Yeah,
and you're
it was
all right, like, you know, I like, it worked for the trailer, that's for sure. Like, because I think they had that moment in the trailer, and you're like, yeah, but it takes away from the hero's decision to go on the journey feels lacking.
Yeah.
It's you know, they have her like staring at the armor, staring at the thing, but we don't fully, at least for me, I didn't like fully like embrace like exactly why she was making this decision. Or I don't know, I just didn't feel it. And then she's off. And then she's on like some epic
journey.
I didn't understand why the journey was so arduous. I just accepted it because they showed it. They were like, this was really hard for her to get here, and she needed to be saved by the ancestor.
The Phoenix.
But I didn't really understand why it was so hard to get there. Why she had to go through a desert,
and snow, like all the elements.
Yeah, she went through every different region of China to get to this one place, but like, and she didn't run into any other dudes on the way, which I also found really strange.
Yeah, I was like, didn't they leave at the same time?
And then I had a weird nitpicky thing, which was like, they cast the horse. Her horse, it looks exactly like the horse from the original animated movie, but. And it felt like they were going to try and make this horse a character, like how she first interacts with it when we first see it. But I was like, who the hell's this horse? We like never see it again. And they like try and treat it like a character, like she talks to it, I think, when we first see it. And I'm like, cool, we never saw this horse before. So for all we know, she stole this horse. Whereas in the first one, I think like we see the horse like interact with like before she gets to the matchmaker. And they're like, oh, we know who this is. But like this was just like, now she has a horse. We saw her in this, like,
She sacrificed the apple.
Yeah, exactly. She was like, yeah, you can have this. You need this apple more than I do, which I was like, I don't think that's true, actually. And then also that apple looked rotten.
Yeah, it's like,
you probably killed her.
And then I was like, did this horse live? Like, we never see it again. Like, I feel like the horse died. Or was that the same horse that she rode into battle? I couldn't tell.
It's supposed to be, or at least that's what I understood. I think it's supposed to be the same horse because when she there's such a big deal of her calling it. There's such a big deal of her like whistling or something and calling the horse to help her in battle. So I think it's supposed to be the same horse.
Got it. Yeah. But so then okay. So the thing is, like, I get this Phoenix is representative of what Mushu was in the in the Disney version, or the animated version, which is like her ancestors protecting her, sending a spirit animal. Instead of Mushu the dragon, they send the Phoenix, and the Phoenix appears a couple different times in the movie, but she doesn't. It doesn't talk. She doesn't talk to it, and it's somewhat unclear as to what. At least for me, it was somewhat unclear as to exactly what the Phoenix was doing. Initially, when we see it, I'm guessing it's leading, like she's lost, and it's leading her to show her the way. Which I didn't know that she was lost until you know what I mean? Like it was like solving a problem that like I wasn't fully established for me.
Yeah, because there's no map. Like, at least show her looking at a map and going, "What?
Where am I?" Yeah, I didn't know that she didn't know where to go. You know what I mean? Until she's like dying in a desert, and I was like, I guess she's lost. Why is she here?
Yeah, it was like an unneeded struggle that they're like, this isn't part of why she's struggling.
Which felt like the movie kept nodding to the animated movie, like to be like, here, like a fan service type of thing, but not in a way that, like, I don't know. It's funny because like the fan service stuff, I don't know how it feels for you guys. Sometimes it works for me. Most of the time I roll my eyes, Yeah. I think the way that it worked the best for me was in The Force Awakens, when like John Boyega and Daisy Ridley are like running, and they're like, come on, like let's go. We'll take that ship. And they're like, no, that's a piece of junk. We'll go to this one. And they're like, okay, great. And then that ship blows up, and they're like, all right, guess the piece of junk. And they turn around and it's the Millennium Falcon, and you're like, holy crap, that's awesome. Like there was something about that like they set that up in the right way that felt cool. This movie, it was like they would just say the line, like Donald had already said, like, oh, well, I'm going to make a man out of you. And you're like, okay.
Like they already are men too. It's like, what?
Yeah.
No one's sure.
Like, doesn't make any sense even. Like they're just saying it because it's a part of the movie.
Yeah.
And that's how I felt about the Phoenix, because I didn't even feel like...
Well, yeah, the other thing with the Phoenix that I just realized, because, I was kind of like reading about it, was it's not as a big of a thing in the like in the Western culture, Phoenix means to rise and like newborn or whatever, but that doesn't mean that in the Chinese culture. It doesn't mean that at all. Like Phoenix is more representative of like the queen, or like just like like the female empowerment of like a god or whatever. So I feel like they mix that up with like more of the Western culture of what Phoenix means. And then in my head, like, I'm like remaking this movie in my head. I'm like, it would be cute if they had like a realistic tiny dragon, like that would have been so cute if like Mushu was like an actual dragon, but like maybe smaller. And then they could have like, like it would be like a little baby Groot kind of thing where they could have so many dolls with it, like that kind of thing could be so playful. Then like the Phoenix, which also kind of bad CGI. Like I thought it was like a kite, and then I was like, oh no, it's a real Phoenix.
Yeah, it wasn't great CGI. No.
Yeah, so that part also, just like the mixture of what it symbolizes is all like mixed up, in what like it evokes her to keep going, I feel.
Yeah, but when she finally kind of gets to this army, and they're, training, I will say I was like, I think way more than the animated movie, felt the terror of her getting found out that she was a woman.
Yeah.
Like there was something about that I was like, oh my God, how is she going to do this? Like, how is she going to take a shower? Like, how is she going to, like, how are they not going to find out? Like, it was, I don't know. And it made me think about, Mulan is kind of a folk legend, but it's possible, right, that this was based off of at least somewhat of a real story of a woman, like going into an army, and I just imagine like that is such a brave thing to do, because it is so already to just join a military. It's like hard to do because you might die, but like to do that and know that if you get found out, you know what I mean? I don't know. There's something about that I just was like, whoa! It really, I think more than anything else for me in this movie, added weight, like in a way that I was like, okay, I understand why you would make this in a more kind of realistic way. Yeah. I don't know how you guys felt about that, but
I agree. I thought that was probably the most fun part of the movie as well. Just like that had the most humor to it. Just like, everybody just keep telling her like, "You stink. You should take a shower." It was like probably, I think, the height of their comedy of that movie. Yeah, I thought that was cool, and I like another weird thing I had about this movie was like they added so many extra dudes, like the guy soldiers, and I was like, why did they do that? I mean, not a crazy amount, but I think there's 2 extra soldiers, so it's instead of a group of 3 that felt like really iconic and recognizable, I think there are now 5. And I was just like, I don't know why they added the extra 2, because it didn't even feel like the guy soldiers felt like they were built up to have like each of their own journeys, maybe. Like they would have like a B storyline somewhere in the background. And I don't really feel like we got a payoff for any of their B storylines. Like, I think the most we got, again, jumping a little ahead, I apologize for that, but like for Cricket,
that's fine.
Cricket, his storyline was that he's lucky. And I was like, cool. And yeah, I guess we got the fact that he didn't die at the end. They kind of make it look like he dies, but he doesn't die.
Right.
But I thought that what they were doing, like in the train, like when they were doing the arrows, even like they were doing an archery test, and he is great. He was like good at the archery. I thought they were building up to be like, oh, he's going to be the cool archer. And I thought each of the characters was going to get their strength.
Same.
And we get to see that payoff at the end
He
of
did get
that.
a moment.
Catherine, you think so?
I said he did get a moment. He had a moment where he flipped and he does an archery in the back.
Yeah, I know.
They were like, there we go. There's your moment.
I want to say that felt like overkill, actually. That felt too crazy.
Like unrealistic.
Yeah, I was like,
right. It's like you get one bullseye and then you could do that.
Because he did it behind his back with 2 arrows, and he does it so cool. I was like, at least let him look like a doof like he's always looked, and I'll be fine with it. But they didn't. They were just like, nah, he's Legolas.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was
any
interesting
relationship with them and Mulan.
Right. Yeah, I feel like the way I made sense of it in my head was that, it's like, okay, well, she can't fall in love with the commander, like in the Disney version, and because that would be not okay. And so okay, so I guess they'll make the person she falls in love with just another one, but maybe they were like, we can't just do the 3 characters from the Disney version and then just add her love interest. So let's put another person in to make it a whole thing.
Yeah. That makes sense. I could see that.
That was my feeling.
I did
about
like
it.
her. Sorry, I was saying I did like her love interest with. I forgot that character's name, but there was something about it. I don't know if you guys felt this, but there was something about it that I almost was like, I wonder if that soldier is gay, because there seemed to be chemistry between them before, and there was a part of me that was like, maybe he's just feeling the chemistry to another man.
Yeah.
And then finds out she's a woman, and he's like, oh.
Hold my hand.
So apparently I heard in earlier drafts that was the case, and I think Disney poo-pooed the idea because they're like, no, we can't have even the question of a homosexual relationship, and that would have been so cool. That would have really heightened this movie.
Yeah, that would have been the updated version that would be nice to have.
And then they're just friends at the end.
I don't know. It just would have been nice to broach something like that. But this movie was nah, not even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I thought they were going to erase the love, any love interest, which I thought was going to be cool. Okay, yeah, we don't need a love interest. It's just not necessary. But then they still hinted at it, and it's just what?
And I hate this. I personally, I don't know. For me, I'm just I hate the lukewarmness of that. I hate straddling both sides. Either if you're not gonna have a love interest, don't. If you are, then do it. Like, don't like, because then we don't get a payoff.
Yeah.
Like, we don't, like, there's no, not only is there no kiss, there's no proposal. Like, he doesn't, even when they come back and they're like, hey, we want you to, the Emperor is once again extending his offer. Like, he doesn't even get to be there in that moment.
I
Which
thought
I
he
was
was
like,
going to.
what? Like, at least have him there. You know,
And
like,
she didn't
we don't
show
even get
anything.
him. Yeah.
Yeah. She wasn't. Yeah, I don't know how she felt about it. Like, we don't know how she felt about it. She was just like,
no.
whatever.
I mean, they had the one scene in which she was like, just talk to her like you're talking to me now. And I was like, she likes him. Like, it seemed like they liked each other. But then we get no payoff from that. So you're just left wanting. And I was like, I don't know. It doesn't make it more feminist just because there was no kiss at the end. I personally doesn't feel that way. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I was like, because if you're just gonna be like, well, she doesn't need a love interest, then great. Then don't have her. Don't like hint at one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I agree with that fully. But like,
And then that goes into like when they were on her side and they're like, I believe Mulan, like that part, that didn't feel real to me at all. Because, since there was no bond, you didn't see their character development or the relationship. Like, that could have been a moment I was like, oh my God, these men believe her, and she's sacrificing her life. But in that moment, like, I saw what they were trying to do, and then I was like, it's not working because she's like an emotionless actor. I don't see the bond, and then it's just like, all right. Go follow her. Yeah, at that point I was very like, okay.
I felt it a little bit, but I knew it was like as I was watching it, I was like, this is a manufactured moment. But I was like, I like the sentiment behind the moment, even if the circumstances leading up to it didn't really lead to this moment being as big as it like should have been. Like, like that, because that's if you were saying that scene in a pitch, like I'd be like, what? And then all the men, like after she's like discarded from the army, comes back to save them, and then all her fellow soldiers are like, I believe her, which is like
it's very
so
also like it's very also in like the Me Too world too. Like that's all I thought of. I was like, oh, did they like put this in post? Like,
I mean, I'm sure the writers were hearkening to that to a degree, because they were all white women. No, there were a lot of white women. But so we get the basically there's really only like two big kind of battle scenes. It's so the first one. They kind of are supposed to meet up with another army. They realize that army has been destroyed. They ride out to battle. They're like doing this fight for some reason, which I didn't fully understand. Mulan and some other soldiers are sent off to chase a bunch of people who are like riding on horses. Everybody else in her like army gets like literally everyone else gets killed. It's just her riding after like 6 or 8 people, and then she's like, nah, I'm still gonna do it. And I think like this whole they've been building this thing because on her sword is, what is it, bravery. I know.
No.
Is it loyalty? Is it like bravery, loyalty,
true is
and
the
true.
last
True.
one.
Yeah.
True.
And she's like, I'm not true. I can't say the words.
Right. And she tries to have that scene where she's like, I need to talk about that, and they're like, no, it's okay. Most people have a bit of fear before
don't
they
ask.
Hey, why don't you marry my daughter?
Oh my God, that's
Which
I
was
was like,
crazy.
imagine if she
'Cause
lived this lie.
I know. Because I always thought that when the commander was
that would
like,
have been a good movie.
that would have been.
Wait,
Keep
what were you
living
saying,
the.
Kat?
Oh no, I was just saying like when the commander was like, I knew your father. When he said that, I thought he was gonna be like, I knew your father. He has 2 daughters. Like I know. Like I thought he was gonna like know the story.
Yeah.
Same.
And the other side of the coin, I was like, the way she reacted to him saying like, I want you to marry one of my daughters. She actually seemed like really into it, and I was like, "Hell yeah, cool! Maybe we'll go that side of the story."
Yeah, because he was like, right?
Yeah, and she like actually she like bowed down, and I was like, "Wow, that'd be pretty cool as well." But no, I don't even think we even see his daughter. So,
Also, can we talk about how the very first time we heard reflection was during when she does the summit, was like when we really should be hearing "I'll make a man out of you." It's the very first time we hear reflection, and I was very excited to hear it, but I was also like, this is the wrong part. Don't do it here. It doesn't make sense here.
Right. Yeah. And then so then she faces off with the witch, and
not a witch.
Who's not a witch. So,
kept saying, "Don't call me a witch."
Like, I'm not a witch. She said that once, and then the guy just kept calling her a witch, and she never brought it up again. And I was like, all right.
Well,
and
I think it's a
Western thing. Like, there's no witches in China.
Very Western, yeah. And I think it's a whole like witch against witch too. Like once Mulan shows that she has, chi, and everyone calls her a witch, and so then I feel like they were trying to like make like a very like big like witch against witch, or like women with powers, women with any kind of power equals witch.
I actually did like that part of it though. I was surprised when like before I'd seen the movie, I saw that there was like a character that they labeled a witch, and I was like, what the heck is this? This is gonna be dumb. But then she like looked awesome. She was awesome, and I thought her story was cool. I liked how her storyline like followed through.
Yeah, she had an arc, right? Like I was like, oh look, this character has an arc.
Yeah, I thought her arc was maybe the best arc of the movie.
Yeah, I like the actor Gong Li. Like she's so beautiful. Yeah, like her costuming and the hawk. And then I also like the storyline of, and I guess it's a comment of like good and evil, like how they're in the same playing field, but one is believing like the positivity and how like society could change and accept, and the other one is like in that evil route where it's like, no, they can't. You have to fend for yourself. And then I like that storyline. But then, it just felt like another story. Like it didn't add to this one that we know that it's like more about Mulan being on her own and learning all these things on her own without these like fantastical things. But I did, when she like sacrificed herself in the end, like that was nice. I was like, okay, but still, like I don't know.
Yeah, when that happened, it was like, oh, yeah, she was like, wait, she was like, because in this first, fight scene between them, she keeps saying, she's like, you're not, you're lying, fine, you're going to die, like, under a false name. And there was something about that was, I really did like, but because it felt like this was the first time that storyline was really being introduced. And then we get the other scene. Yeah, it's kind of exactly like you're saying, Angel. Like it felt somewhat separate and not fully baked into the whole story, even though it's like a cool idea. Because it leads to that moment of her taking off all her armor, being like, "No, I need to be true. The reason that I was losing to this witch is because I'm not being true to myself." But then she doesn't even fight the witch.
That's true. I forgot.
Very true.
And then she like goes off and like kills a couple of people, but then does the thing that's a part of the legend in the story, which is like cause this avalanche to happen, and then it gets lost. Oh yeah, and then everyone finds out that she's a woman, so she gets disgraced, and then later realizes like, no, these people are still alive. They're gonna go take over the emperor. What did you guys think of this final kind of action sequence or fight? Like, the takeover of I don't know, but the capital. What do you call it?
I mean, I found it really. I think I stepped away for a second, so I didn't really understand what the Emperor's plan was. Where he was like, "Everybody, stay here. I'm gonna fight them in this other part of the city that's like the construction."
It was like the witch for some reason, kind of unexplainably, could
people.
I didn't know if she was, but I didn't know if she was possessing them or if she was killing them and then just looking like them.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell which it was.
Yeah.
Because we never saw the other.
You never saw them
again.
afterwards.
Right. Yeah. I will say when they first did it in the beginning of the movie when it was just the shadows, I was like, oh, this is awesome. I liked how they showed this. They didn't waste their time on like stupid CGI. They just did the shadows, and I was like, this looks hella tight. That was the one part that made me really excited about the movie. I was like, oh, they're gonna maybe do cool like practical effects or like semi-practical effects. Anyways, sorry, keep going.
He was like, the emperor's like right-hand man or something, and the right-hand man was like, look, they've already come into the city, but he said, if you face me one-on-one, we can end this and we don't have to do battle kind of type of thing.
Yeah, and his side like purpose, I guess, was that he killed his father, like the main evil guy's father. And then he's like, so now he could kill him. Like, I don't know. That seemed like, then that made the emperor kind of like evil too. I was like, what? Why is that?
And they never really addressed it. I kind of was like, let's get something here.
Well, the thing that I took from it was the emperor kept being like, I killed his father, like I'll kill him.
Right.
And what I kept thinking was, oh, this emperor keeps like talking himself up, but maybe like he's not like, and then there was a part of me that was like, this emperor is old. Like, why does he think he's going to kill this dude in a one-on-one combat? But then when the emperor gets to the place and it's like an ambush, all of a sudden the emperor like does all these crazy moves, like does the same like weird thing that the witch does with the fabric, and like somehow makes the fabric longer and it's throwing people in the air and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, I guess the emperor like is a really cool fighter. And I actually didn't even know this until afterwards that the emperor was Jet Li.
I know, me too.
So I was like, oh, right.
Okay. Also, I need to talk about this. I knew it was Jet Li. I read that somewhere else beforehand, and I couldn't recognize him. I also feel like they changed his voice. They did somebody else to do his voice, because that is not Jet Li's voice. He has a really soft voice, and they made his voice like really deep and like, I'm the emperor. It's like, I would have been fine with regular Jet Li's voice.
I did feel like everyone's English was very and not to be like crazy there, but it was like very like clean Disney English.
Literally, that's so funny that you said that, because now I get to say what Jirah said, which was he was like. Jet Li's English this is the best English I've ever heard.
Because we've heard his English before.
Yeah. It's like Jet Li's English isn't as good.
I don't know.
Oh my god.
There was something about everyone spoke, I don't know. It was a weird thing because it wasn't really, it was like, okay, I guess he has chi and that's why he's an emperor. It was very fantastical, but again, the movie was like only half in this fantastical realm. Like it was like kind of in it, but like I don't know. It was strange. It was still kind of strange, and the emperor still winds up getting, captured anyway.
Yeah.
And then I don't know why he wasn't killed. It's just one of those. It's just one of those inexplicable movie logic.
Metal,
Right. He wanted to like burn.
He wanted to
burn
burn
with the
him,
city.
so
Maybe
he kept melting his little pool of hot whatever.
All right. Sure. It's the classic evil like layer plan of like, I'm gonna kill you slowly and so torture you and just leaves people like, I don't know why it's like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I also gotta say, like, so just to talk about the bad guy, Rory Khan, I think, or Bori Khan was his name. And I love the actor, Jason Scott Lee. Like he's cool. I remember him from like all the old movies. Like he did Enter the Dragon. He played Bruce Lee, and he was he was Mowgli in The Jungle Story, which I only recently thought was like, that's a weird casting. But he was great. He's so cool, and I love that they cast him like he's kind of generally seen as like a hero guy, and they made him this like nasty villain character. And I got excited because I thought like he was gonna be cool as hell. Because like what was the bad guy's name from the original Mulan?
He was a Hun. That's all.
Yeah, he was a Hun. I remember like he didn't get much, but in the movie I thought he was really cool and scary. And they like made him like almost a natural force rather than a regular dude. Because I think there's one moment where like they find treasure and he's like, I'm not here for treasure. I'm here to just destroy everything. And I was like, that's cool as hell. That's scary. Right. And they almost did the opposite in this movie where like there's one moment where he's meeting with all his like his bros, and they pick up treasure, and one of his bros is like, I don't care about treasure. And then the bad guy's like, whatever you want, I'll give it to you. Like, why did you do this to this bad guy? He was supposed to be cool. And you make him like, even the bad guy gets undercut as like this. He doesn't really have a great strong motivation. Like, I don't know.
He doesn't talk about his father dying.
He doesn't talk about his father dying. Like, we don't get more than that. We don't get what he actually wants out of the revenge. And then like even that story, I was like,
Shan Yu.
Was it Shan Yu?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I guess his motivation was just that his this guy killed his father, so it's just revenge.
Yeah, I don't know. Like Black Panther did that, but they did it so well, and they built in some more into it too. Whereas this was just like,
right.
I don't know. It didn't even feel like they were even believing that part of it.
Yeah, just like, here are all the little things.
Yeah.
He also wasn't as scary because he was using the powers of this other woman who he was calling a witch, and
yeah, she was scarier in a way.
Like she was definitely scarier. She could like warg into an animal. She could be multiple animals at the same time. She was literally like a fleet of terrifying birds. She could do the cloth thing. She like had razor sharp claws on her hand and was super strong and could like, I guess, imitate people, like either possess people or become other people, or one of those two things. Like it seemed like she could have killed the emperor all by herself. She didn't need any help whatsoever. I was like, I still didn't fully understand why she couldn't lead this army herself. I guess what this movie was trying to say was like, no, like men hate women so much that like
power,
even if like they would be like, we will all die before we let you be the leader of us, which was I guess somewhat real, but I don't, like, it was kind of confusing in the context of the movie. But I did like that. I mean, it was nice that she sacrificed her. We kind of talked about that moment, I guess, like this redemption moment and like women sticking up for women, which was cool. But yeah, the final fight scene was okay. I don't know how you guys felt about it.
It also
Oh. I mean, I did think it was cool that the witch also brought back the whole learn your place Mulan. Like I liked that. I liked that she was the one to say that. Like that another woman brought that home. I thought that was good.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry. Go ahead with your thoughts about this. I don't know, this like wire fight on a beam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're building a new building? Or they gentrifying the desert? I don't know.
It also just felt strange to me that it was like that one sequence where like they show up in the Forbidden City. I will say anytime like any of those like palaces and show up in movies, I'm like, these look awesome. They're so cool. It's so huge. It's awe-inspiring. So then when they all come in, and like Mulan's leading the troop, and they all come in and they like enter the room with like the Imperial armies already there.
Yeah.
It was just like, well, where's the danger? The army is here.
Like, oh, okay.
And then the bad guys just like attack everybody together, and I was like, well, it doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't feel crazy. Whereas like the original movie was, like a smaller group of dudes took the empty palace and they like blocked the door, and I was like, oh, there's like this...
And they did the opposite where they became women.
Yeah, the male soldiers did that.
Yeah,
I was like, that felt
and
cool.
that was like, yeah,
like, I mean, like a payoff.
and the whole thing was like they were working as a team, which they kind of hinted in that naked pool scene. but they weren't working as a team. Like Mulan was fighting on her own. It was like, wait, what?
And it was one of these things that it happens sometimes, but like because there was no actual goal or whatever. It's just like random fights happening. Like there's just fighting in some hallway.
Yeah.
Like,
for so long.
Yeah, for a really long time.
Mulan fought so many people, and then they're still in that hallway.
Also, I mean, this is a writing issue I have. Like they said at the pool in the bath, they were like, "I hope you never turn your back on us." I think that's like literally the last thing he says at the bath, and then he asks her to do it, and she does it. I feel like that was kind of an opportunity for the movie to be like, no, she won't. She's gonna fight with them and like come back and kill the dudes, and they're all gonna go together. But it was just like, oh, that feels like it was a letdown.
Yeah,
also, none of them know that she. I just realized that none of them actually know that she saved them with the avalanche thing.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do they not?
Or do they? I don't. Well, I mean, there's no acknowledgement of it.
I was thinking. Yeah.
Well, I thought that's why they said like, we believe in you, Mulan. She saved the army. She saved us.
But they wouldn't really know.
Oh, okay.
What I'm saying is, in the context of that scene, in the context of that scene, the avalanche happens because she gets behind them and they try to fire that thing at her. But I don't know if any of them knew that why they were doing that was why Mulan, because they were all hiding under their shields.
Yeah.
And then later on, it wasn't like they could have even added a line with being like, where's Mulan? Like, Mulan saved us. But they didn't. It was just like, hey, they were just like, yeah, where's Mulan? I don't know.
Oh, long hair. Girl.
She's a girl?
Yeah.
She has long hair.
Funny.
Yeah.
It was.
Mulan is a girl? The way that he delivered it, I was like, that's such a hard line to deliver.
For sure.
But I thought he nailed that.
Yeah, anticlimactic,
Yeah.
I guess.
It was a little bit. Even the part of like the fact that she did this thing and she is bringing honor to her family, I feel like I didn't really get the emotional payoff of that. Like I was trying to manufacture it myself, but I feel like the movie didn't help me. Like I wanted, like, when they come back to, like, I wanted either in that scene being like, you've brought great honor to your family, which I don't think they even said, which for as much as they've talked about honor in this movie, to not say it in that moment was like bewildering. And then when they go back and they're like, I don't know, like in some medieval movie, like she would bow to like these people who are coming and they'd be like, no, we bow to you.
I was
you know
waiting
what I mean?
for it.
And then
like,
everyone bows
down.
and she's the only one
Yeah,
standing.
and then like
She's
the family sees and like the father is really proud.
Right, but that was in the Disney movie. That was in the Disney movie.
Yeah.
It's the best part in the Disney movie is when he's like, you don't bow to anyone, and then everyone bows to her.
No, that is in the Disney
It's
movie.
in the Disney movie. It's the best part.
But it wasn't in this one, and
I mean, I'm on I'm on y'all's side about that, but I will say, like, they gave her the sword at the end, the new sword that says like that they added duty to your family, I think is what the new
it just says family.
Or just family.
They added to I was like, because I know the symbol for family. It just says family.
Right, devotion.
At least it
And
doesn't take
she
devotion.
says duty to family.
Yeah.
They say devotion.
Devotion to family.
Yeah. Like, that feels at least enough, as much of a payoff as I expected from this movie. It's kind of what that felt like. Do we want to talk about the battle with Bori Khan? Any more than that?
I was like,
Man.
And any more than what we just did? When we were like, I guess it was a battle.
Yeah.
I don't even remember.
It was like fun. There was like some fun flips and stuff. And she loses her sword and she doesn't know what to do. And then she like is like, oh, I guess this is me showing my training with like this one piece of wood.
Right.
Right? Like this is me being like, look what I learned. I don't need a sword.
She chops the thing.
Because she doesn't have to be this strong.
Yeah.
Right. And then
I don't know. It wasn't.
And then there's a callback to the beginning of the whole arrow thing.
The arrow. Yeah, that was kind of cool, I guess. I mean, I did like her, like, because they kept showing the fact that she could do this jump in the air and kick something with her foot. Like, they showed it 3 times. So I was like, oh, that's cool that she, like, kicked this arrow into him. But I don't know. It still wasn't... I didn't think he was built up enough. And then the actual fight, like, I don't know, on the... on the construction, like Angel said, I guess the construction. I don't know. It wasn't the same. It didn't feel. Yeah, I've seen better ending fights, I guess is all I could say.
Yeah. And then Emperor was just like, okay. Like, I felt like he didn't. I was like, oh my God, thank you. A woman saved me? Whoa. Like, I was just like, oh, cool. You saved me.
And it did feel like the Emperor was doing a pretty decent, even though he was captured, he was fine. Like, he caught the arrow, too. It was like...
She was also fine. Like, she didn't have any blood on her, any scratches. Her hair
everyone was
like...
very stoic. And I don't know if that's appealing more to like mainland China of like
it might be,
like everyone's stoic and somewhat emotionless and I get that. I mean, but there's something about if that's gonna be what the thing is, then I don't know. I feel like there's a different way to do it, and also you want people who know how to tell those types of stories to tell those types of stories, not like white Western writers trying to tell that kind of story. I don't know.
Yeah, I think just like watching from things when I watched when I was little with my parents, and I feel like because my mom's from Hong Kong and my dad's like in that area, and I do feel like Hong Kong movies do more like comedy and slapstick kind of humor and like all that silly kind of things, and then I feel like mainland China is more like the stoic, historical, like, you know, this is more showing the strong side of the character. And I think because it's, you know, catered towards that, that's why they took away all the comedy and even romance. Like, I hardly remember seeing like kissing scenes in any of like the Chinese movies when I was little. So I feel like they just took that all away to appease to that kind of audience.
Yeah, and like at least some the movies that I saw too when I was younger, it seemed like emotions were weakness. So like to show any emotion meant that you weren't strong or you weren't weak. I mean that you were weak, and so I don't know if that's also part of like I mean I have no idea, but I don't know if like Mulan was directed to like not show any emotion so that she would be quote unquote strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt there was like those weird choices where like they would do close-ups of her face in like dramatic moments, and her face it didn't change, which I was like, I'm fine if you know that was the direction they went with, but then why did you close in on her face? We don't see any change, and it was just like this is a wasted shot.
I thought the best acting, because I do think this actress is very capable, because there were moments within that training when to me the best part was when they were in the training place. Like that for me was the best part of the movie, because they're like the stoicness. There was like a trying to be a man, right? And she was saying certain things, but then like when they had that table and they're like talking about the different type of women, and she was like, I like women who are courageous, and they're like, what? And like, but that was funny, and it all worked within that context. Her being like, I'm not your friend, and like I could actually see the fact that like no, she does like this guy, and all of that stuff was there, but then everything else was like it just was, and it didn't all feel connected. It like there were different parts of the movie that just felt like I get what you're doing, but it doesn't feel like one piece, which is tough. And if you really are, and this is the thing, if you're just some corporation that's just trying to make a lot of money and you're just trying to balance between like, you know, who knows? I mean, maybe this does well in China, but I don't know. I there's a part of me that's like, well, there are things that could do well in China and can do well here, and you don't have to like try to appeal to a certain, you know, if audiences can enter in, like so many other cultures enter into American culture by watching our movies. You know, I don't know. There's something about that corporate thing that feels I don't know, it's like cynicism to me.
Yeah.
And
I always feel it's kind of weird too, because like obviously we're coming at this from like at least the Western point of view for movies, definitely. And then so it does feel like, I don't know about you too, but like even just talking about making choices and like saying these things about like the Eastern Asian market and being like, oh, you know, I hate that they did this, and then you'll hear like people from that market being like, I had no problem with this. This is awesome. I love this. And it's like, well, yeah, I guess I shouldn't be opening my big mouth to talk for your point of view. So it is just always weird to be like,
yeah,
I don't know.
I think but it is like, yeah, I don't want to say like it's our movie, but it is like, like Disney when, when it came out, it is, and I feel like an Asian American movie because like the characters were how we connected to it. So then and that's how we like, the whole theme about being someone you're not and like trying to respect your elders, but knowing like sometimes you have to question their traditions because it's wrong, but you're doing it because you love them, like that's always a balance that we try to make in, America.
Yeah.
And by them like taking kind of that away, because they don't really address that either. Like that wasn't really the motivation for Mulan of like, I love my dad and I have to question him, and that's why I'm sacrificing my life to be with him, even though that's dishonorable. Like all those emotions and like messages that is like within the animation Mulan is just like taken away. And now it's just some like random action movie, like with some nod to Mulan, but not really.
Yeah.
And I've always felt like, we are different than, like Asians or Asian American. And that's why our representation in media is so important. And I don't include this movie as a representation for Asian American. Like, we've talked about other movies like Farewell and even like Crazy Rich Asians. Like that is, even if it's not the best, like, film or whatever, it's still a good representation and it's a good start. But I felt like Mulan, I'm not going to put this movie in the category of that because I do feel like it's the corporation and it's like a Asian movie, even though there were a lot of Asian Americans in it. But again, like crew, writers, no Asians. So, yeah.
Were we excited by Ming Na's appearance?
For that one.
Angel's like, maybe. I was
Wait,
excited.
Whose appearance?
Ming Na. She was the actual voice of Mulan.
Oh,
so when she's like, may I present? When she like does the emperor,
Mulan.
And she's like, may I present Mulan? That's her. That's the actual voice of Mulan.
Okay.
I knew immediately. I was very excited. I like screamed.
I was thinking that shot was so unusual to me that I was like, okay, this person looks really familiar, but I couldn't tell what this was. So that was all right.
Mulan. Yeah,
that makes sense. That's cool. I do like that. Yeah, I totally get what you're saying, Angel. That's real, and it's like, and it's tough because I am interested to know, what like the like mainland Chinese audience thinks of this movie, because it is tailored more towards them, but there are parts that are clearly supposed to be tailored toward Americans too, right? Like, so like it is like, it's kind of a hybrid. And sometimes that works out, and then sometimes it does. Sometimes you just disappoint both parties, or like both audiences, and neither audience is like, who knows? I don't know what it's gonna be. I don't think it's out there yet. Or maybe it just came out this weekend. But yeah, yeah, we'll see what it is. It's an interesting movie. I think it's caught in this like firestorm of certain like political issues that are like everywhere. Like it's always weird when like I don't know I don't know if you know this, but I was just like, Trump is technically like pro Hong Kong democracy, but like in a way that feels just because he's like antagonistic towards China in general because of his base. And so I always think it's so weird when I'm like, I don't know, I could see certain people being like, yeah, we support Trump because Trump supports, this political issue because it benefits him in this certain specific way. So it's all that stuff always feels so messy to me. Anyway, Gerard would say something to Hollywood, but I feel like what you said, Angela, was a Dear Hollywood, just Dear Hollywood to Asian. Hey, like Asian Americans are different than Asians.
For sure.
Which is real. And then James would say something about Hancock, but actually, if you think about it, inexplicable powers. You know,
they don't like her. They don't like her at first, and then they like her
at first.
Mm-hmm. There's another one we find out later.
There's another one.
Yep, there's another one we find out later. Yep. So really,
they're gods.
Yeah.
It's about Hancock. So really, Mulan is about Hancock, is what we're all learning.
My last thought. Who is that girl I see wearing straight?
And if you watched the credits at the end, Christina Aguilera re-recorded Reflections, and it's a very like, this is my version, and like, you're not gonna quiet me this time. It is powerful.
Yeah. And then they did one, I'm assuming in Mandarin.
Yes.
They did
I think so.
There were 2 Reflections songs at the end in the credits of the movie.
Was there a post-credit scene that I missed?
I actually looked. No.
No.
But they're already working on a sequel. No joke.
Wait,
for real
they're
though?
working on a Mulan sequel.
Is it about the...
I don't know if it's about the animated sequel.
Yeah, because there's an animated sequel, which I have never seen.
I heard good things.
They had like a daughter or something, right?
Oh, I thought it was she's like sent on a mission. Like her and Shan are sent on a mission.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
All right, well, it's time for the cause. We rate and review movies not based on how much we like them, but whether or not they help the cause of more leading actors of color, Black actors, but in this case, Asian American actors. If we feel like it fully helped the cause, we give it a black fist. If it somewhat helped the cause, we give it a white palm. If it didn't really help the cause at all, we don't give it anything. This is a tough one, honestly. Just think about this for a second. All right, on the count of 3, we can all raise up our ratings.
I don't know why I'm scared.
2, 3. Wow.
Yeah, we're split.
I don't know what Angel gave a claw. Kat gave a fist. I gave a white palm, and Donald gave it nothing.
Yeah.
Kat, do you want to go first?
I mean, I just feel like I had to give it a fist because at the end of the day, it is a movie that has an Asian lead and has a mostly Asian cast, and not only Asians are watching it. And so for me, I'm like, if not only Asians are watching this movie and they are enjoying it and they are somehow telling Hollywood that, yes, we will pay to watch Asians on screen and we are white or we are black or we are another race, then I think that helps the cause of Asians in Hollywood at the end of the day. So for me, that's the reason I gave it a fist, is that I just feel like as long as this isn't categorized under like a foreign movie where most Americans would be very afraid or not want to watch it, then I think it helps the cause of casting more Asians and putting more Asians in Hollywood.
Yeah, that's great. Angel?
I agree with Catherine. Definitely like, main Hollywood and the casting. I guess I am giving it more of a palm because I do think we are at the point where we do need more Asian representation behind the scenes. I feel like that is going to be more important than in front of the scenes because those are the people who tell the actual stories. So in regards to that, that's why I'm like a half palm claw thing.
Yeah, I gave it a palm because I thought it was just because of everything that's surrounding this film. It feels like it has some Asian American actors in it, which is always great, but it's not like the main one is getting all this pushback just for saying something political, and I don't know. It's hard to really tell how much this is going to be helpful or not, but couldn't give it a nothing, but I also didn't want to give it a fist. But Donald, you gave it nothing.
Yeah,
so.
Maybe I'll regret this, but I kind of like. I totally understand. I think there's a lot of strengths for it. Like I love that it said, all Asian cast. There was even some South Asian actors in there. So that's great. It's like a weird time, and it's unfortunate that like it has all this like crazy controversy around it, and I don't even know what to take on it anymore, because it is like they're talking about the same issues that we're talking about, and I feel weird being like pro this movie but being on the side of like Black Lives Matter and like being against police brutality. So it always feels weird to me, and I think I need to take that into account with this movie. We already talked about like, I think it'd be great if there was more Asian talent behind the camera, like at least director or writers. And I think also, honestly, like, I didn't love this movie, and it's not like we have a lot, but I liked how you put it, Jonathan. Like, there's a thirst. When we're thirsty, we're willing to put up with a lot of stuff. And fortunately, I feel like 2019 we had pretty decent. I mean, not a huge amount, but like we had a lot of good options there. So I'm like, I'm getting to the point where I don't feel like we need to just be like, oh, it had Asian people, like that's great. I'm gonna say it definitely helped. I think we're getting to a point where we can say like, great, this movie looked like it had way too much corporate fingers in the works, and it kind of got in the way of the Asian talent. Like, I don't even think the Asian talent got to display their best work. There's a lot of great work, like actors here, and I feel like I don't know if it was writing or directing or just complications, but like it feels like so subdued, and even these actors' performances.
Right. We didn't get the best. We didn't get the best of what was possible, especially with all the actors in play. Because there's a lot of, Donnie Yen. I mean, we have. There's like so many legendary actors in this movie, and we got to see some of it, but not all of it. Which, I'm trying to. What's the name of the? Is it this guy? Yosin Han. He was the like romantic interest. I thought he was like I thought he was awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I want to see him as a romantic lead in more movies. I felt like he had this charm. Yeah. So, I hope it. Yeah, it's like I hope this does help a lot of them. But it's hard to tell if the movie helped. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for coming on and talking about Mulan. Where can people see you, or is there anything you guys want to promote? Kat, we can start with you.
Well, you can always follow me on Instagram. I'm under Kat Lerner, KAT, and that's pretty much it. I'm pretty much just like trying to be productive during quarantine somehow.
Yeah. For real. Angel?
I'm on Angel Yao or Yao Angel on Instagram and Twitter. And I guess I'll promote the short documentary I'm in with BBC about mental health and me being a comedian and my stop motion animations. So just promoting mental health in Asian American community.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's great.
Awesome. Donald?
Social media is at Donald K. Chang, and been hosting the New York Asian AF show. Trying to do it every 2 weeks. We missed this week, but I think I'm going to try and do it this coming week. So we'll do every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll just do like a full variety show. I host that, and I also do like a Zoom game show called New York Minute. And we just pit like 3 comedians head to head in like dumb challenges. Been trying to do it every week as well, but times they're tough. Thank you for having us, Jonathan. This is great.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Of course. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, you can follow us at Black Men Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. BlackmenPodcast.com is our website. And if you rate and review us 5 stars, we'll read your review on the air. And you can follow me at John Braylock. James is at James Third Comedy. JamesThirdComedy.com, as he always says. Third is spelled 3RD. And Gerard Milligan is always on and never on social media. So good luck finding him. Yeah, this was awesome. Thank you guys. This was a great combo. And I mean, look, if you've already spent $30, I hope this conversation was helpful. And if you haven't, maybe don't, but you're willing, you can do whatever you want with your money. It's a mixed basket for sure. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Forever Dog.
This has been a Forever Dog production. Executive produced by Brett Boehm, Joe Cilio, and Alex Ramsey. For more original podcasts, please visit foreverdogpodcast.com and subscribe to our shows on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Keep up with the latest Forever Dog news by following us on Twitter and Instagram at Forever Dog Team and liking our page on Facebook.